But let's start off with a match review from the game last night against Crystal Palace, 3-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And you know what? The stadium's turning into a bit of a fortress. We were just talking off air about it. How many wins is that under Conte at the new stadium?
I believe it's 4 wins and a draw.
4 wins and a draw out of 5, and then we drew to Everton away, right? And yeah, we definitely should have won that Liverpool game as well. But on the balance of play yesterday, the game started, and I think Palace actually had quite a fast start to the game, and we were quite slow coming out the blocks, quite sluggish. And it took us quite a while to get into the game yesterday. But I think that, once we scored, and especially once Zaha went off, it was game over pretty much. It was like we completely locked that game down. It was such a professional job, and I feel like we hardly even got out of first gear for pretty much the whole game yesterday.
You feel it's an interesting one because in the second half, obviously we were 2-0 up and down to 10 men. And I thought for the first 5 minutes we were pressing really high, probably trying to kill the game. And then I think we took our foot off the gas and we were just do you think we're just trying to conserve energy, knowing that, so. 2 games in 2 days, we got this game pretty much wrapped up, and that there's no need to really overexert ourselves when this game is pretty much over. And that's why it takes Kane after an hour and
it's not just that because the games are coming thick and fast, but it's also because these players just coming off the back of COVID as well. So I think that Conte, that was a direct instruction. I really do. And it was so great to see as well in the latter stages of the game, Kane going off, Son going off, these players getting some proper rest. So yeah, I do think it was an actual plan for the manager. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it makes sense that it was because of the situation, and also it's not like we're chasing the game. We're even at 1-0 up. I think you've got to still try and get that second goal, but 2-0 and down to 10 men. I think you can kind of take Palace were not threatening whatsoever. They didn't have a period. Yeah, they just didn't have any sort of period where they were on top, and it seemed like, especially late on in the game, last 10 minutes or so, we were actually creating loads of chances at will. They were struggling to contain us, and obviously they had 10 men, so that contributed. But we didn't even have to put extra effort to do that. So I think definitely we were just sitting back. There was a time where we were literally just playing it around, and there was no pressure on us. They can't press us. Yeah. There's no reason to risk any injury or anything. So I think it probably was, to be honest, from Conte, kind of telling him, look, we're 2-0 up, don't have to overcommit, don't have to do anything. Just make sure we got this game dead. And once the third goal went in, that was a cherry on the cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But I just felt so calm, so relaxed, sitting here watching it. I mean, I don't remember the last time I've been so relaxed watching a Spurs game. It was just so easy. It was so easy, especially when they went down to 10 men, you just knew that was literally it. That was game over. There was no chance for Palace in that after
and getting 2 goals to run down 10 men. But if you talk about the game, I agree with you when you say first 20 minutes we were slow. I think Conte even acknowledged that in his press conference. And were we watching the press conference? Okay.
Oh no, I thought you said, have I watched it?
No, sure. Are we watching it?
Yeah, Sam, can you get that ready? And we'll play it after the match for a preview. Huh? It's anyway, just on the YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, so I think first 20 minutes were slow, and I actually thought having the back 3 that we did, Jaffet, Sanchez. I actually thought Jaffet grew into the game fairly well, but I still didn't look entirely comfortable throughout the game in that position. But I just felt we became very, very predictable. And I actually said to Brian in the first 20 minutes, if we're not finding Son or Lucas in those pockets, like in those number 10 pockets they've been picking up really effectively, if we're not finding them, we look so predictable, because Tanganga, when he's in that Davis position, he's not providing as much of an option, and when he is providing as much of an option, he's not as comfortable as Davis is in those positions, and he kept losing the ball quite frequently when he got there, and he just kind of wasn't giving accurate passes and stuff. And same with Sanchez on the other side, also grew into the game, to be fair to him.
But Sanchez was brilliant.
He was, but when he gets into those attacking positions, or when all those positions in the final third, he's just not comfortable. He's doing his best, and I give him credit because I think he did a decent job, but he still is not looking very comfortable in those positions.
But I don't even think Ben Davies looks as comfortable in those
I think
positions.
he does.
I mean, like, how many times have we seen him get in those positions and fluff his lines, Ben Davies, so far?
I think he's looking very comfortable because I think he knows how to play there.
Positionally, he's looking comfortable. He's not looking comfortable when he gets on the ball in those positions.
No, I think he is. I think he is. He's able to pick out pockets. He's given space, and he's able to pick out a pass. He's able to get into the box and have shots and stuff. Yeah, he's not the best shot on him, but I think he looked a lot more comfortable in possession than Tanganga and Sanchez did yesterday. And I actually think it hampered us for the first 20 minutes because we weren't.
I'm not talking about in our area. I'm talking about in the opposite box.
I am. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about as well. And I don't think it hampered us too much yesterday, but it did in the opening exchanges. Made us very predictable. Like, we couldn't really get the ball to them because I don't think we wanted to, and then it was hard for us to get the front three into the game. But once we got that goal, it was kind of a bit like how it happened. But Emerson with a great ball to Lucas and a great finish by Kane. And once that goal went in, the game opened up, and all of a sudden Palace struggled to contain us. And then 2 goals in 2 minutes, and that was it. It was game over. And we didn't actually need to have Tanganga and Sanchez, although they did later in the game. We actually didn't need them to contribute too much in the final third, but in the end of the day,
Sanchez was like a fourth striker up there. He
was
just getting up time and time again, and he really took that kind of Ben Davies role, didn't he? From
definitely,
the other side.
He was more going forward than Tanganga was on the other side, and I think that makes sense because Tanganga on the left, he has to cut inside, and then we have to whip it across us. And I think Sanchez clearly playing a lot of confidence yesterday. You saw that, and that led to him being a bit more confident on the ball when he was there. I still didn't think there was much composure and stuff like that, but he was able to play a few passes, and obviously he had that shot near the end, near the penalty spot, where that would have gone in. That would have been a nice goal.
Brilliant goal.
Yeah, so that would have been good, but I still think if we had a real, first of all, Romero, for example, much more comfortable on the ball, but if we had, and same goes for the wing backs as well. If we had wing backs who are super comfortable in the final third at taking people on and getting quality into the box, would be a really serious team. Really serious, competing for big things.
That's something that they can learn, or it's something that's ingrained in you? What is it about our fullbacks?
When it comes to Emerson and Reguilon, I think there's a lot of scope for them to improve. They're still quite young. Emerson's 22, and Reguilon's 23, isn't he? So 24. So they're still really young, and they've got a lot of scope to improve. Sanchez, he's 25 now, so yes, he can improve. But the difference between Sanchez and Emerson is Emerson's been a fullback by trade, so those are things he's always going to be working on. Sanchez is a centre back, so he's never had to work on that kind of side of his game before, has he?
Yeah.
He's always been concentrating on being a really good defender, positioning wise. Under Mourinho, he was always being a guy who's getting things out the box and just blocking things. That's what he's been specialised in. But under Conte, he has to develop this other side of his game, to a degree where he can actually be really effective in the final third. Will he ever develop that to be as effective as we want, as someone else could be if we signed them? I don't know. Emerson, I think, potentially could. I don't know about Sanchez in that kind of facet.
I think, at the end of the day, we know Sanchez, as soon as Romero's back anyway, he's going to be out of the team, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it might take a bit because it's a big injury even to get to match fitness, but I think he's doing a good job, Sanchez. I'm not trying to criticise him.
I still worry about him on the ball. He's still very worrying every time he gets on the ball.
I don't want to criticise him because he had a good game, and defensively again, he's doing some really good work. When we're under pressure on a counter, really doing really good stuff. He's doing mopping up and making sure that, because he's the one with real pace at the back, he's making sure that putting out any fire that he sees, and he's doing some really good stuff. It's just that in this system that Conte plays, especially yesterday when there's more emphasis on him to go forward because Davies wasn't there, we need that player to really be comfortable playing in and around the penalty area, making passes or having some quality into the box. And apart from late in the game when there was space opened up because they're chasing a 3-0 defeat, that he still just doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem comfortable. And he's never been a centre back who's being comfortable on the ball, and that's been something that we've always noticed about him. So whether he can ever be the centre back that's going to be perfect for this specific system, I mean, I've got doubts about that, but you never know.
I know I've got doubts about it as well. And even you saw in the early stages of the game yesterday how I thought in the first 10 minutes, I thought he looked poor actually, and I was worried about him yesterday. But he grew into the game massively, and it was a really good performance. A few other players I want to talk about. Ollie Skipp, man.
Yeah,
what a performance. Week in, week out, this guy is producing these performances now. I mean, the guy is just absolutely insane. The guy is like, what, 21 years old, 20 years old? He plays like he's 30 years old. I'm saying it every week. And like, he's so mature on that pitch. And he's looking like a similar level to Højbjerg already.
He does things where, like, where other players, like, would panic and go for a 50-50 lunge or
so composed,
but he knows exactly. Like, there was one moment where the ball gets fizzed into him in the middle of the park, and there's a Palace player right in front of him, like sliding to intercept it, and like other players might have like quickly gone for the ball or like try and get a tackle in it, but he literally notices that the Palace player isn't going to get there, and he kind of just steps across, allows the ball to get past him, and then he's on the half turn already, looking to go forward, and all of a sudden that Palace player is taken out of the game. And like he does things like that, things that go unnoticed. You know, it's not going to be a match of the day highlight for that, but when you're at the game and you're watching it live, you can notice these things. And he does these things time and time again throughout the game. Like, his awareness for a player of his age is exceptional, absolutely
really
exceptional.
None, man.
It's exceptional. He kind of knows. He scans all the time. He knows where players are. He knows exactly where to be. I think under Conte, he is taking his game on even further. I mean, he was one of our better players under Nuno, and I think under Conte now he's becoming a real special talent in the position. If he was a forward player like a Foden or a Mount, like, people would be like raving about him. But because he's defensive, defensive midfielder, it takes a lot more to get a bit of credit. But I think if he's one of those players who you don't fully appreciate until he's playing for your team. And I think because we get to see Skipp, his every action every week, we can fully appreciate how well he's actually doing. And I think this boy right now is one of the up-and-coming talents in the Premier League. I really believe that in his position.
Of course he is. I think 100%. I mean, the things that he's producing on a football pitch, I mean, I felt like he was being played into trouble by the likes of Sanchez, potentially Dyer, in the early stages of the game, and he did lose the ball a few times. But as the game progressed, he was actually receiving the same kind of ball with players quite close to him, but the way he was turning away from it, the way he had the vision, he has like eyes at the back of his head to actually spin the right direction. I mean, the guy is just absolutely, he's a talent, man, and I'm so happy that he's producing these kind of levels on a football pitch for us, because he's just outclassing any midfielder he's coming up against at the moment.
Yeah, and he's so hard to get the ball off as well. Like, because his awareness is so strong, like, he knows where to turn and which direction a player's coming from, and he always keeps the ball away from them. And he's press resistant in a different way to, like, say Moussa Dembele was. Moussa Dembele, like, it wasn't about his awareness. He didn't really care where a player was coming from. He can hold them off. Yeah. But Skipp, because he doesn't have that kind of strength, he has to be aware not to let anyone get too close, and he never does. He very rarely does, really rarely, and it's really, really impressive. And it must be very frustrating to play against when you're a centre mid from the opposition team, and you never seem to be getting close to him, and he always seems to have time on the ball as well. The only problem I'll have, not with him specifically, but with him and Højbjerg together again, which I don't think they did terribly again, but it's just, again, the similar complaint I would have is there was a bit of a lack of, especially in the opening exchanges, first half an hour or so, a bit of a lack of creative spark between them two when really trying to penetrate the Palace defence. They seemed a bit non-threatening with their use of the ball. But they didn't need to be, because Lucas, Son and Kane and the fullbacks were doing all the damage. So that's kind of, I think that maybe that was the plan, because if it was, it really worked. And, Emerson was getting in time and time again. Not as much Reguilon, but definitely Emerson. So maybe that was the plan. But, if we had someone else in that position, like an Ndombele or Lo Celso, one of those two, someone with their quality, then maybe they would have found more opportunities to open up Palace.
And that's kind of what my worry kind of was coming into the game when I saw the lineup. It was like, I thought we moved past from Skipp and Højbjerg. I
was about to say, what do you think of, we had a Liverpool game where we had Winks and Ndombele and Dele, and all of a sudden we had three in there where they're not the most combative like Højbjerg and Skipp. which has been, you know, one of their main criticisms. But the technical ability they were showing, like the through balls they were getting to Kane and Son, like were absolutely brilliant. And it's something that they were playing passes at Højbjerg and Skipp. Like I'm not sure on how regularly they would be able to pull off passes like Winks and Dele and Ndombele were pulling off. So then all of a sudden, and we weren't defensively like open that much against Liverpool. So it got you thinking, okay, maybe even in this system, we could accommodate a more technical player in the middle without being too exposed. That game got us thinking about that. But ever since that game, since Højbjerg and Skipp have been back, he's put them straight back in, hasn't he? So is that something that's maybe not disappointed you, but you got you thinking like, why have we put both of them straight back in? Like maybe we could be using Dele or Winks or Ndombele a bit more.
Yeah, I was thinking that when the lineups got released yesterday, I was sure it wasn't going to be a Skipp and Højbjerg middle two. I was sure, but it was. But it just got me thinking that maybe, you know, games are coming thick and fast at the moment. I think maybe tomorrow night we're going to see that three in midfield again, or potentially Winks is definitely going to be in there, but alongside who? I'm not too sure. I mean, is he really going to play Skipp and Højbjerg again the 3 times in the space of a week? I'm not too sure about that. I think it also depends on who we're playing, what kind of system we're going to play. I think different games call for different systems, right? And the Liverpool game, that was a deliberate tactic to come up against that Liverpool side to stifle them. And I think that when we come up against different sides, Conte is going to come up with different ways to beat these certain teams. So it's not worrying me too much, but I did want to see that midfield 3, and I do kind of want to see that more than that middle 2, to be honest.
But it didn't have to be that 3 specifically, but maybe he could have done
I'm just talking about the formation.
Yeah, but yeah. Maybe could he have done like, I guess maybe with the 2 in there. I guess it's different when you got 3 in there because you got the extra body. You could maybe afford to have those players be a bit more technical, because even if they do get caught out, you've got another body in there to cover for them, even if that body who's covering for him isn't the most technical, at least he's there to cover ground. But when you're playing at 3-4-3 like we like to in other games where we add an extra attacker in, maybe he feels like if we don't have 2 players there who are able to recover a lot of ground like Højbjerg and Skipp can, maybe we are just far too open in that formation. And we saw that, to be honest, against even against West Ham, where even though we had Skipp and Højbjerg, the moments where we were getting caught out, especially, you know, beginning of the second half, like we were very open, weren't we? Yeah. And then he had to add the extra body in there in Winks. So maybe it's just a case of playing to your opposition, thinking what is best for each team. And when we have this formation, maybe he just doesn't trust Dele, Winks, or maybe not as much Winks, but definitely not Dele or Ndombele in that position, does he?
Yeah, I think, maybe more. Look, I think we'll see as the season progresses, because I think we'll see a lot of different combinations as the season progresses. You've got to remember, and he's only been here for 6 games.
What I would say I'd like about what I'm seeing right now is whoever comes in, like before under Nuno and Mourinho, we were so dependent on personnel. We were so dependent on these specific players in these positions to work for the system to work. Like, for example, under Mourinho, when we had our full team, a lot of the times we were actually like pretty good. Like things like we'd play well, but then as soon as 1 or 2 players were missing injury, all of a sudden it would all fall apart. Like it was just very we very specifically needed these players. But what I love about what I'm seeing at the moment is that whoever comes in right now, whatever player comes into the system, a bit like how you see for City or for Liverpool, whatever player comes in right now into the system, it's like we're replacing a cog in the system rather than a player for player.
100%.
And it's like that system's still working the same way. Everyone knows how the system works. We're playing towards a system of play rather than playing towards get the ball to Kane and Son and get them to do some magic. It's like we're getting, for example, when Bergwijn and Gil come on, they're still getting in those same positions that Kane and Lucas were getting in. It's like they know where to be on the pitch as part of the system, not to be because of who they are.
And that's what kind of what I was saying when Jose Mourinho was our manager. We need these players, because a whole team is like a cog. And if one piece of the cog is missing, everything falls apart, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case under Jose Mourinho, because at the end of the day, under Jose, our only plan was to get it to Kane and Son and see what they can do. But now, even if Kane and Son have an off day, we've got the cogs in motion. We've got the cogs in motion, and we're working as a team, the whole team together. And it's just unbelievable to see. And like you say, if one cog comes out, we replace it with another cog. It's unbelievable to see. And every single person in this squad now is literally there and fighting for its place in the team.
And it's so vital as well, because I feel like when a player gets to, under Mourinho, when a player had to come in and prove himself, it's like, okay, you need to play well and you need to show individually why you should stay in the team. Whereas now under Conte, it's like, it's not you have to play well, it's you have to do this. You have to do this function. And that's a lot easier to get your head around. And like, it's a lot easier to like be able to say to yourself, it's not like I need to play well. It's like, I need to, before this role for the team, I need to do these certain things. If I can do them, then I have got a shot of staying in the first team, rather than I just need to play well and prove myself like under Jose. And that's the most vital thing. And that's why it's giving the players more confidence. I feel they know what they're doing. That each one is being drilled into exactly what they have to do for each position to the nth degree, and it's really paying off on the pitch. And it shows the elite management of Conte. It really does.
So quick as well. Nobody expected
6 games. He's only been in charge for 6 games. How mad is that?
Yeah, he's turned everything around. And we were talking about Skipp, and I think he was a very close second for man of the match. But who I gave the man of the match, and who a lot of people gave man of the match to, was Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura was absolutely everywhere yesterday. 2 assists, a goal. Could have had more as well. The guy was absolutely scintillating yesterday. I thought a couple of times he should have left it for Reguilon. Reguilon was
that happened a couple of times near the end. That was quite funny.
But I think that Lucas, he was trying some spectacular things when he should have left it for Reguilon as well. But look, at the end of the day, when someone's in that sort of confidence, like, look, do what you need to do. But he won us the game yesterday pretty much with 2 brilliant assists, a brilliant goal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, how the hell was he beating Anderson like that in the air? How?
You saw how he he got ahead, like he was behind Anderson, but he just had the will to get the ball, didn't he? And he really had that like determination, like no one was stopping him. And we've all know, if anyone's been watching Lucas, we all know he has a great leap on him, and he showed that yesterday. Despite his lack of height, he has a spring that can outjump a lot of centre backs. We've seen it. How many headers he wins from goal kick? Times. Like he wins that. You're always thinking like, this guy is so short. How is he winning so many headers? But
corners as well.
He has incredible leap. And ever since Conte's come in, I think he's been great. Because, like, I don't know, I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we're starting to see some consistent performances. We have seen him go through good spells and he goes through bad spells. So I'm hoping this isn't just a good spell and then he'll go back to being inconsistent. But, against Leeds, I remember we called him out specifically for he was our main threat. Against Norwich, I thought he was brilliant as well. And again, yesterday, I thought he was by far our brightest spark. I don't think that first goal, if anyone else is running, even if Son's running onto that ball, I don't think that goal happens, that first goal, because I thought Emerson actually, the weight of pass was decent, but I don't think anyone else in our squad but Lucas catches that pass.
I agree. When I first saw that pass, I thought
he overhit it. Yeah. I thought he overhit it, but Lucas, because of his searing pace, like no one is catching up with him, and he also had the presence of mind to lay it off on a plate for Kane as well. That opened the game up, and then he was involved in the build-up to the second goal as well, and then he finished it off, and it was a great ball for Son. All he had to do was just guide the ball into the far corner.
He pretty much won us that game in that 5-minute spell.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, that's what he did. And it's like they couldn't contain him. And that's what he can do. He's so sharp and so quick. It's like if he can turn it on like that, he's in full flight. He's nearly impossible to stop. But
it really is.
Always the question's been, how do we, get that from him on a consistent basis? But I think, everyone's been saying, get him in a 10, get him in the central position. But I actually think this position here, obviously he's in a kind of 10 central, but like central slightly to the right, not too far to the right where he's too far out of the game and like he's on the edge of the box, but like on this right hand side where he's in the width of the penalty area, but he's still central like everyone wants him. Perfect for him.
Any further right to that though, he gets lost.
We don't need him there because we've got Emerson there overlapping.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Any further than right than there, he gets lost in the game and like going down blind alleys like he used to. I mean, this is the perfect position for him here, or even a bit more centrally, but anywhere around that kind of area. And he's always moving around anyway. So I think Lucas Moura is thriving right now. Absolutely.
And
thriving.
I think as well, because Lucas, Son and Kane actually been playing with each other for a long time now, they know each other's game very well. And obviously under Nuno, the attacking patterns weren't really there to get the best out of that connection. But under Conte, all of a sudden, as soon as those patterns are there and that's the system is placed where everyone knows where they are, like it's becoming very, very easy for them three to link up really effectively. And we're seeing that time and time again. It's not just the defence, which is definitely, and we'll get to the defence in a sec, that's definitely improved under Conte, but it's just, we are creating creating so many chances. Again, yesterday was, I think, 5th game in a row now. We've got 2+ XG.
2.6, yeah.
It was 2.6, so nearly 3. Yeah. Like, we're getting so many opportunities, man. I think Kane, Son and Lucas are doing exceptionally well together to link up and create opportunities for each other and set each other up. And it's a delight to see. There was one point yesterday, they were just playing one-touch football in between each other, and Palace found it really, really hard to deal with.
You really see the confidence is growing within the squad, can't you? Belief, confidence. You can see that they're getting they're getting it all back, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're getting it all back. You can see there's excitement around the whole club now, on the pitch, in the stands. I mean, this guy Conte has literally reformed this football club in like 5 weeks. It's nuts.
Yeah, and as Conte said, we have to take advantage of the confidence that there is in the team. Because, and I think that's absolutely right, because despite the fact we all know there are players that need improving and or signings we need to make within this squad to really get to where we need to be. But when a team is confident like we are at the moment, it can actually overperform to their level. Obviously, that kind of like a bit like last season under Jose, like. Because we started the season so well, we had this confidence, right? And we were winning games and we were seeing out games 1-0, 2-0, and we were on this high. And only when we, got a couple of bad results like at Anfield, then it all started to break down because you start to lose that belief. But once you have that belief, like you can actually, even if your squad isn't as strong as you think it is, they can overperform with the belief they have before it kind of
what Pochettino
means out. Yeah, 100%, and that's we overperformed under Pochettino because the players we had weren't as good as how he made them look, and that's what we got to do under Conte before we can actually improve the team. Before that happens, while that's happening, we have to overperform in the meantime, and that's what I think Conte is trying to get at. Like, look, we've got this belief now. At the moment, we're not fearing anyone. That's the truth. Look how we played against Liverpool. Once that performance showed that we don't need to fear anyone. And I think that has instilled this belief that now...
I actually think that Liverpool game gave us that belief.
Yeah.
I think before then, we were still feeling out everything. Conte was still working things out.
You weren't sure if it was the opposition.
I think that Liverpool game is actually a bit of a sliding doors moment.
Because you weren't sure before that game. It's like, oh, we only playing well because we only beat Brentford and Norwich, or are we actually improving? But I think it's undoubtedly now. You can't deny. There's been massive
I do think
improvements.
the fixtures have been favourable for us, definitely, because 5 home games and 1 away game. Yes, obviously one of them was to Liverpool, but every other game apart from the Liverpool game, you would still expect us to win those games, wouldn't you?
You got to win them, don't you?
Yeah, of course you got to win them. But even under Nuno, I mean, we wouldn't expect to win them as resoundingly as we did, but you would still go into those games expecting to win, or hoping to win at least.
To be fair, our home form under Nuno wasn't terrible. It was only against United and Chelsea we got battered. Yeah. The other games we won, didn't we?
Yeah.
But, against, as we always said, against Watford, we won, but, we didn't play anywhere near as well as we played the past few games,
that's what I'm saying, though. But we got the points on the board, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Under Nuno.
Yeah. But now these performances are different class.
Yeah, of course.
Different class. And there's also, not only the performance is really great, like, I can only see the trajectory going this way. Like, I'm looking at this team, and I kind of feel like we haven't unlocked, like, even a third of the true potential of what we got in our locker.
It's only 6 games in. How is it possible to unlock more than that?
I know. I'm just saying. I don't see these players playing at the best they could be, even in this system right now. They're playing really well, and we're winning games. But I feel like we've got gears to go through.
We do have gears, but as well, it's also... You have to temper expectations a bit because, we've seen stuff go really well before. I know it's a different situation and it looks a lot better now than it did under Jose, but as soon as one thing went wrong under Jose, it all fell apart. And I want to know, and that's going to test the mentality of this team when something inevitably does go wrong, when one game does go wrong, what's going to happen after that?
That's the question. That's always the big question. When a team's on a good run, especially a run all like where we haven't had a bad one. Like this is like he's only had a good one, so that's always the big question. And it's gonna be interesting how we react if we have a bad defeat or a result which we didn't expect, like a home loss to a team in the bottom half or something, and how we react to that. That's going to be very, very interesting. Just hope it never comes, but it will come eventually.
It will. Look, it's inevitable.
Yeah, of course it will come, but it'll be very important to see how we react.
Unless we go unbeaten for the rest of the season, we end up winning the league this year.
Yeah, imagine. But that's what happened in his first season at Chelsea.
Yeah, I know.
Look, that ain't going to happen. We're just too far behind. But
we're not even that far behind if we win our games in hand. 7 points at this stage of the season.
It'll be 9 points, I think.
Oh, is it 9? I thought it was 7.
If we win our games in hand, it's 9.
Oh, is it 9? I thought it was 7.
We're 18 points behind City right now.
Oh, right, okay.
So, I think that's astronomical. You know what I mean? Even if we win every single game from now to the end of the season, I still don't think we're in the league.
Really? No, I think we would if we win every single game.
I don't know. City is strong.
You don't think
man.
City will drop 3 games from now to the end of the season? Well, it has to be 4 games with a goal difference.
Who knows, man? That's not guaranteed. Man. I don't think that's guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed, but if we're saying we're gonna, this is completely hypothetical. We don't think this is gonna happen, by the way. But let's say we beat Man City. So that's 1 game. They can lose to a Liverpool. They can lose to a Man United. You know, they got hard games.
I'm just saying. My point being is fine. Maybe we will win the league. My point being, even if we did win every game from now to the end of the season,
foregone conclusion.
Yeah, it's not even then. It's foregone conclusion. So you can't even look at that. But with Chelsea as well winning yesterday, that puts.
So let's put this talk to bed because we're not even it's not even in our thinking titles and all that kind of stuff.
But top
4 I think is well
within our reach. We just got to make sure, especially on Tuesday with Arsenal game called off, that's 1 game in hand. We're clawing back now, so we just got to make sure that we get the job done on Tuesday, and that's what I'm looking for. But look, another great performance, and I think it was perfect, and then it gives Davis a chance to rest. He's going to come in tomorrow, and I think that, again, players coming in did the job required.
Yeah, definitely. So that is our match review from the 3-0 win against Crystal Palace last night.